So we are in Ashtanga Yoga, and we are still in Ashtanga Yoga. So we talked about the yamas and the niyamas, and we talked about asana, right? And the whole idea why I'm going through this is because if you read the commentaries, and if you also see those that want to get to a state of samadhi, or those who want to quieten their mind, those who want to gain focus, if they practice the yamas and niyamas, then it will be much easier to get focus, to get concentration. If the yamas and niyamas aren't practiced, it becomes very difficult. This is why we're spending time on it. So we did asana last week. That's where we left off. And asana is sthiram sukham asana, finding that steady posture where I can sit and just be. It is like that is my comfortable position, where my back, my neck, my head are in a straight line. And it's sukha also. I find comfort and ease in it. And it is said, if we can do it for 3 hours, then we get asana siddhi. And asana siddhi means then we are free from dvandvas. We are free from dvandvas or dualities. So now we go to pranayama. So what is pranayama? Pranayama means rechaka, puraka, kumbhaka lakshanaha, prana nigraho payaha. So it is control of the vital force. And what is that? Inhalation, exhalation, and sometimes holding the breath, or what we call kumbhaka. So rechaka is exhalation, puraka, inhalation, and kumbhaka, holding the breath. That is pranayama. Now, pranayama, I'm not going to go into too much detail because the next few verses in Upadesha Sara will deal with pranayama. We will go directly to Pratyahara. And I also would like to finish this section today so that we can move forward. Pratyahara. Pratyahara means controlling the senses or withdrawal of the senses and the mind. This is called Pratyahara. And there's a very nice verse about Pratyahara here. I will just read it to you and then you see what the definition. This is from Amrita Nada Upanishad. Okay. Shabdadi Vishayanscha Manaschaivati Chanchalam Chintayed Atmanaha Rashmin Pratyahara Samchite. So this is a very, very beautiful definition. And I'll tell you what it means. So it means that our sense organs, so we have our sense organs and then we have our mind. So this makes 6. Now, what do we have to think? Think that the sense organs in the mind are like rays of the sun. So, there's like the sun, that ball, and then there's all these rays. Think that they're like rays of the sun, and from those outside rays, you're coming back to the sun. That is called pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses and the mind. So whenever the mind is going out, whenever the senses are going out, that ability to just take them and like the sun's rays, just bring them back in to where they need to be in that particular moment, in that particular time, that's called pratyahara. And that, when somebody has that ability, what happens is the result is they gain great control over their senses and mind. See, we don't have that ability all the time. The senses run here, they go here, the mind runs there and it goes there. And sometimes we get washed away and carried away. We don't know what happened. And in Kathopanishad, it gives the best, metaphor. It says that, the intellect is like the charioteer. And the mind is like the reins. So think of a chariot. Intellect is like a charioteer and the mind is like the reins and the horses are the sense organs. So when the intellect is able to hold those sense organs, those horses, then you will go on your path. You will go to wherever your goal is, you will go because that intellect is holding the mind is holding the sense organs, and you will nicely, merrily go to your path. But if the intellect loses grip, then dushtashva, it's just all these horses, they run away. And next thing you know, we don't know where we're going anymore. So when we are able to make our minds available to us, that is a gift. Many times we don't have that ability. The mind will take something, it will think about it again and again and again and again. The mind will go somewhere into the past. The mind will go somewhere into the future. The mind will go into something that it's not even supposed to think about. It will go in all of these places. But a seeker, if they can develop this ability, it means they can make their minds available to them at their will. So imagine that where I want my mind to be, I can have it there. That is called Pratyahara. And when a person is able to do that, then they're able to get to the next stage. So this Pratyahara, Parama Vashyatendriyana, means supreme control of the senses will be there. Now, what happens after Pratyahara? Okay, so now this Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, these 5 that we've seen, they are what we call Bahiranga Sadhana. They're external. They're external. This Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, which we will see, they will be internal. Yama and Niyama, they have to do with disciplines that we have to follow. Then Asana has to do with the body. Pranayama has to do with the breath. And then Pratyahara has to do with the sense organs and the mind. So slowly, slowly, it is getting subtler and subtler in this Ashtanga yoga. And as I said, if one practices Yama and Niyama, if these 2 are very grounded, everything else becomes easy. But if this Yama and Niyama is not grounded, forget about everything else. It will be very difficult. And it all starts there. Ahimsa, Satya, Brahmacharya, all of the things we talked about. So when that seeker starts to become quiet, starts to become ready, the next step is what we call Dharana. This Dharana means Desha Bandha Chittasya Dharana. It is when we take the mind and try to concentrate on something. So when we say we take the mind and try to concentrate on something, hold it to something, it means we have to have something to hold the mind to. So in this stage of dharana, a seeker has to find something to hold their mind to. And in this Ashtanga yoga, usually it is like a chakra, you focus on your heart or your throat or in between your eyebrows. You focus on like a chakra. But in bhakti sadhana, what we talked about earlier in Upadesha Sara, you focus on the form of Bhagavan or Bhagavati. You focus on that. The difference is with these things, when you focus on, your heart center, your navel, whatever you focus on, whatever thing you focus on, it is said to bring siddhis. Siddhis means these revelations, these supernatural powers. And so what happens is sometimes these yogis practice these sadhanas to concentrate on these centers for that particular power. But that itself is an obstacle, because what we want is not that siddhi or not that power. What we want is to realize the self. So even Patanjali Maharishi says this in his Yoga Sutras, that these siddhis are obstacles, but he's mentioning them because they help in concentration. So that is the reason, sometimes people say, how come we don't talk too much about Ashtanga yoga or Raja yoga? It's because of this. Who doesn't want siddhis to levitate and do all these crazy, read minds and know your past life? Who doesn't want all of these exciting things, right? So even in the book that I was reading, the commentator there says, we're not going to expound on these siddhis because you should just know and bypass it. So we don't talk so much about it because people can get carried away. But it is a tool. But the bhakti sadhana, where we focus on Ishta Devata, that is a much, I would say, better tool for us to use in this day and age, Because then there is love for Bhagavan, surrender for Bhagavan, and very, very wonderful things that we can gain from that. So this dharana is where we hold the mind to an object of contemplation, whatever it may be. And if we don't establish that, then we cannot move forward. And that object, how should it be? It cannot be Mahavakya right away. It has to be something first gross, something very gross. Then slowly, slowly it gets less gross, and then subtle. So those of you who are in Gayatri Mantra, I showed, first you will see that whole picture of Bhagavan. In Vishnu Purana also it says, first you see the whole picture of Bhagavan Vishnu. Then you only focus on a point, let's say only the top of Bhagavan Vishnu. Then maybe only focus on the head of Bhagavan Vishnu. Then maybe only on the eyes of Bhagavan Vishnu, or whatever part it is. But the idea is slowly, slowly that focal point becomes narrow. And this happens over time. It's not right away, because in the beginning, we get very bored to just focus on one point. We're like, it's not interesting enough for me to hold my attention. So we need like so many things. That's why our gods and goddesses are decked up, because they like, look at me, I'm so bright, I have so many things. And the idea is we keep looking and looking and looking at them and don't look anywhere else. That's why they have such beautiful clothes and beautiful jewelry, is because they don't want us to look anywhere else. But slowly, slowly, we have to narrow down that focus until we can then make it very subtle. So that ability is called dharana. If I'm able to hold that, then I come to the next one. And the next one is what we call dhyana. Dhyana. And dhyana is tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. So when, let's say, in dharana, I found my focal point, right? I started to concentrate on it. Now this maintaining a single thought flow is called dhyana. When there's a single thought flow towards that object of contemplation, that's called dhyana. It just goes there. So thought 1, thought 2, thought 3, thought 4, they're all the same. They're going in the same direction. And it is like that flow, ajya dharaya. Remember we saw that like ghee, srota samam, and like the water. So it is a single pointed thought flow that is called dhyana. Now, this dhyana, do you remember in Upadesha Sara, we said there's virala chintanam and there's sarala chintanam. Virala means it's broken, it breaks. There's this single thought flow, but it breaks. So sometimes it's very, very flowy, then it goes somewhere else. Then it's very, very, very flowy, and then it goes somewhere else. So when there's a break in that, that is called dhyana. So dhyana is that single pointed thought flow, but with a break. It's still, there's breaks here, there's breaks there, there's breaks everywhere. Then we come to samadhi. So the 8th limb now is samadhi. And in this samadhi, what it is now there is that single pointed thought flow, but there's no break. There's no more break. So it is very much like it's called samyak adhyate, that which is well placed. Your mind is well placed in that object of contemplation, and it is just flowing. So in dhyana, there is an effort, because in dhyana, we have to keep bringing back the mind. I keep bringing it back. In samadhi, there is less effort. It becomes even less and less and less. But there is still that meditator and meditated. That's why it's called we say it's samadhi or savikalpa samadhi, that there is still distinction between that meditator and meditated. So there's effort, and then slowly, slowly that effort also becomes minimum. So this is samadhi. Now, so then this is Ashtanga. Ashtanga. And the last three limbs are Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. And these last three limbs are really what we call Antaranga Sadhana, because they prepare us. What do they prepare us for? So these 8 are called Anga because they are the limbs to Angi. It's the limb for something, right? And what is it the limb for? So it's, in some books it's Savikalpa Samadhi. So I'm following Vedanta Sara. The Angi is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So eventually all of these 8 Angas prepare us for that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is absorption of the mind without any difference, that this is the meditator and that's the meditated. All of it, all of these things are preparing us only for that. And it is said that that stage is the realization of the self. Now, if we want to look at this as an example, what example can we use? See, first let us put this in the bhakti perspective, then we will see the example, then we can put everything together, okay? So in the bhakti perspective, we saw virala chintanam with breaks, that is dhyanam. Sarala chintanam, that is samadhi. Sarala chintanam, right? That is better. Then in this bhakti sadhana, it says bhavashunya, right? There's this state which is absolutely thoughtless. That is nirvikalpa samadhi. So the same exact thing in that bhakti sadhana is also here in that Ashtanga yoga. And in this bhakti sadhana, there was bheda bhavana and abheda bhavana, means you can contemplate with a difference that this is me and this is what I'm meditating on, or you can contemplate that I am that, I am Brahman, right? And in this Ashtanga yoga, the object of contemplation is where it differs. Where I said sometimes they focus on different chakras, focus on different things, focus on different symbols to get that particular siddhi. So that is where these differences lie, so that you can see how they also connect. Now, so one example that is very nice to think about that is given here is, you can imagine a student who's learning an instrument. Okay, just imagine a student who's learning a new instrument. So first, the student is trying to learn, etc., trying to, when you learn any instrument, when you learn anything, you have to first put everything away. So first you have to, we'll start from asana. You have to sit down. You have to sit down, right? Anything that you're learning, whatever you're learning, you have to sit down, find your seat, find your comfortable seat. Then one has to relax. You cannot be like, especially if you're learning how to sing or you're learning a language, just come relaxed. You cannot come like here, there, everywhere. Pranayama. Then Pratyahara. All those emails, text messages, everything, you have to take it out of your mind. Otherwise, we cannot concentrate. Now I am learning something. My teacher yells at me, "Oh yeah, you're not concentrating, you're not focusing." You have to take everything out of your mind. Out of your mind. Otherwise, it's very hard. This is Pratyahara. Then Dharana. Dharana is when you're able to concentrate, but sometimes you're playing the wrong note. Sometimes your voice is dropping. Sometimes you're not able to get it. You're doing it, but it's a vichidya. There's a break. Sometimes you're falling here, sometimes you're falling there. That is called, dharana is when you hold, okay, you hold that point, and dhyana is when there's all these breaks happening. Then samadhi is when you're able to really focus, and there's different points of it. You're one point is you're focusing and you're paying extreme attention. You're really, really focusing, you're paying extreme attention, and you're so aware about everything that you're doing. There's no mistakes. But there's still little bit effort. Still little bit effort. Then it goes into even deeper, what we call savikalpa samadhi. Same, only little bit deeper, wherein now there's no effort. It's just happening. It's just happening from you. There's no effort. It's just happening. Then you come into nirvikalpa samadhi, wherein you are completely absorbed in the song. You are no more there. There's no more singer or song. There's no more someone who's playing something and the instrument. You're just completely absorbed in it. You become the song. That is like nirvikalpa samadhi. So these same stages that we see in our life, and it can come anytime, when we are writing, when we are speaking, when we are cooking, we are reading. All of these states come to us. It's a see, this Ashtanga yoga it's what we do every day. Yes, this is the seat of meditation, and yes, there's all these terms, but if you just look at our daily life, it's happening every day. But what's very sad is we only probably get to this Dharana or Dhyana, isn't it? We only get to those two stages, if at all we get. Sometimes we're not even able to do Pratyahara. Sometimes we can't even sit and concentrate. So it's always like this thing wherein sometimes, some days we're able to go really, really, really deep. Some days we're able not to go so deep. That is called Ashtanga yoga. So it's a whole entire practice from the gross level to the subtle level, and its aim is to take us to that nirvikalpa samadhi. Its aim is to get our mind absorbed in that which is higher, which is the self. So any practice that we are doing to build that focus, to develop that concentration, is actually an aid to this. So here we complete this section. Okay,